Okay, so this tutorial is going to go over the initial setup for the rendering component of the IAPD 410 course here. And so just so we can start to talk about what it is that we're going to be doing here, I've gone ahead and done some quick modeling. So we're going to be rendering out the final project that you guys are going to be working in Studio right now. And so I've gone ahead and given you guys a template here that I quickly threw together. It took me about 30 minutes. Not incredibly detailed, but it gives us a sense of the environment that we're going to actually be looking at when we go to render this stuff out. And so it's important that we have some kind of a context when we're looking at this. When I was modeling this, particularly familiar with where we are at. Hit Control Alt and then right click. We can start to look around in here, but we can start to talk about some of the elements that you're going to need to model for this particular assignment. Obviously, we're going to need some geometry. We're going to have this organized by material. If you look over here, we have all of this stuff set up. And I've gone ahead and set up some stuff for us to work on down the road. If something really specific we want to look at, so I've set this model up here so we can do some uplighting from the floor. So you can see that modeled here in the space. So we're going to be able to take a light and project it up along that wall and also down from the top. And you can also see while we're looking at that, all of the can lighting, I've modeled the spatial configuration for that, as well as if we look at the recessed lighting layer here. I'll see if I can turn this into a color so we can see it. Ghosted. You can see that guy right in there. There it is. So each one of these guys has a surface here so that we can actually model the light fixture as well. Okay. And so if we go in here, we can actually start to see the key thing here is that since we're going to be eventually, hopefully, you guys are going to be able to put together an animation of this. We go as we revolve through this space and look at the geometries in here. The idea here is that you can, at any given moment, see some piece of geometry. So we don't have, at no point are we floating off and looking out into the horizon into space. We have an enclosed building envelope that everything else is modeled within. Okay, and so that becomes really important, particularly when you're going through and animating or doing a walkthrough, that we don't look over and all of a sudden realize that we're missing half of the model. This particular model doesn't need to be very thick. Like if we look at the ceiling here, that is in fact only a surface, because we're never going to be flying into or looking out at the outside or the exterior of this building. So we don't need to go crazy with the detail, but we need to have enough in here so that we can suggest that there is some resolution here in terms of the building content. All right. Once we have all of that set up, we have our materials set up on each one of our layers. We can go ahead and select that. So we'll just go ahead and now, just like before, Rhino will accept all of the stuff that you have in here. I'm going to go ahead and have a ground plane in here as well. So if I just select, we'll come down here, turn off these guys, and set that to the layer. So I should have, now on the only layers I have on are the layers that I've actually built. So if I just hit Control A, we can go like that and do export. And we're going to go and we'll go into the desktop here. We're going to save this again, just like we did before, as a DWG. So we'll call it IAPD 410. Space. Okay, and for what you guys are going to be doing, you guys can actually use your own space. You don't need to copy the model space that I've developed here. But the idea here is that you guys have, this should give you some sense of the resolution of the geometry that you need. Okay, so we hit save. And I'm just going to go over this again in case you guys don't remember. So when if you come in here, you want to create a new scheme. So we hit close, edit the schemes. We need to make sure that surfaces export as meshes and meshes export as meshes. And that's so that the preset for that is going to export surfaces as curves. That doesn't do you a lick of good. Those things obviously are not real geometry, and so they won't render. Okay, so we'll go ahead and AutoCAD 2004 should be fine. This is already set up. If you haven't saved it, save as something else. The 3D Studio Max scheme should be there. So we hit close, hit OK. It's going to ask us, because we have surfaces in here, what resolution we want to mesh them at. I'm going to go ahead, because I have some curved walls and things of that nature in here, I'm going to go with a little bit more polygons, and that's going to obviously give me a better resolution on that. Hit OK. Alright, and now it's going through and meshing all this stuff. And once it's done, we should be ready to import this and bring it into Studio Max. Alright, that's going to get us set up for the next tutorial.